I'm Kelly Spolsky. I'm with Thunder Bay Live, and I'm here with Councillor Brian McKinnon of Red River Ward. And you're re-electing?
You're re-electing Ward, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and how has this been so far on the campaign trail?
Well, it's been busy.
Yes.
I mean, besides the fact that I have to go door to door, don't have to, I am going door to door
Right.
and, giving out my brochures and meeting people. We still have the work of council to do.
Yes, you do. And you were there late last night.
Well, last night, for example, we were there till 12:30. Hopefully making good decisions. But that also includes all of the committees. I'm on 11 committees for council, plus subcommittees of
Wow.
some of those committees. So it's a full-time job. And
So you retired from teaching and took up
yep.
this, and it's busier than what you were. Well, I guess you're more on a schedule with.
Well, no, yeah, I'm pretty good now because I've got it figured out. Really. I put in my hours every day.
Right.
And I'm okay with the fact that, they call it a part-time job, but it's not.
No.
And, I was okay accepting all those other committee work, and that's okay too, so.
So the meeting last night was a vote to decide to go ahead.
Right, for the event center phase 3, which we approved.
Right.
The vote was 11 to 1 to 1. One
okay.
person didn't vote.
Okay.
I don't name names, but and what that simply indicates is we have given administration and the working team permission to go out and look for funding
Okay.
from the upper 2 levels of government plus private people.
Okay.
If that doesn't happen, if we don't get either one, provincial or federal, or even some substantial private monies, it's probably a no-go.
Right.
And I think that's been said enough times that people, I hope, have gotten that message. We're not going full speed ahead, damn the torpedoes. We're trying to do our due diligence.
Right.
In fact, one of the fellows, Ron Badulka, who works for, he's the accountant.
Okay.
He works for a big national accounting firm. He said that Thunder Bay has done more due diligence than any other of these similar projects that he's been involved in. And he's been
okay.
involved in about 60 of them.
He was at the meeting the other night.
He was at the
yes.
meeting last night. And the open house as well last Wednesday.
Right.
So we're doing our due diligence. We've had 11 public meetings
Okay.
over the time, and that's letting
tough.
people know, and that's tough. Yeah, it's important though that we get the message out there and say, look, we're doing everything we can. Sure, some people don't like where it is.
Right.
That's all of the thing about parking, but that's why we've hired these experts to say, is this where it should be? Yeah. For all the reasons, that you've heard, economic reasons, core development, and the site itself, apparently, the architects love it because it's a slanted site.
Yes.
And they can build the building pretty low, so it doesn't impact, like the surrounding buildings, and you can walk right into the ice surface. It's pretty exciting with that.
So it kind of sits.
Yeah,
Yeah, the pictures are there.
They said it's perfect. And then part of it's going to be a great big glass wall where they'll see the sleeping giant every time you walk in.
It's a magnificent thing to have.
So they're taking advantage of that.
And there's also other community events that can happen there, such as equestrian events, monster truck events, indoors.
Absolutely.
So we do get a lot of winter here.
We do, yeah. And, they showed how it would be configured.
Right.
Like monster trucks are big in across Canada and the American, and that'd be an exciting event.
It would be.
Because they can move things around. They can move some of the seats and
Yes.
do that kind of stuff. And they're talking about display shows like boat shows and all that stuff. And we just don't have anywhere where we can do that. But more importantly, I guess, besides that, is is the potential for substantial conventions. And we are getting calls. You know,
Okay.
well, can you guys put on a convention for 800 people? No. You
Right.
know, can you do this for 500 people? Really difficult. We had a medical convention here last year. And I think it was 800 people was the number, 800 and something. And these were from all over the world.
Wow.
Well, we had to go from venue to venue. You couldn't have all 800 together at one time.
Okay.
You know, you can't even have dinner together because no place you can sit 800 people. You know,
Wow.
so this will afford us that kind of thing. We're not going to get, you know, the 25,000 people convention. You know, that will
Right.
never happen, obviously. But, you know, I know, for example, a friend of mine went down to a convention in Chicago last year. There were 55,000 delegates.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's huge.
that's different. You
That-
know,
that's- wow. That's a city.
55,000. Yeah, that's a city.
That's a city.
Absolutely. So, no,
Wow.
we're not into that.
And how is the, you said, have you started door knocking or?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so
Oh, yes.
how has that been? Like, I know a big
It's-
concern is crime and a few other things in the city.
Well, I'm not hearing a lot of that
Okay,
because we are, you know, I guess I can say fairly bluntly, our crime rate, serious crime rate, is dropping.
right.
I know people say, well, we had 8 murders this year. Well, yeah. And, you know, we've talked to people about that, and, you know, the police chief essentially is saying, look, those are people who know each other. You know, it's people hurting themselves in a, you know, in a situation that simply got out of
Yes.
control. So, you know, and so the police chief is saying, you know, your city is safe. As I said, the serious crimes have dropped. I think it was 17%.
Okay, that's good.
You know, that's, yeah, that is good. That's a good statistic. That means somebody's doing their job. And let me add, one of the groups doing their job is the Crime Prevention Council.
Okay,
I really have a lot of time for them. You know, they're doing a great job. They work with all the other various social agencies. In fact, I think there are 28 agencies represented on the Crime
Wow.
Prevention Council. And it's starting to pay dividends. You know, it's only really been, I guess, rolling out for about 3 years, 2.5, 3
Okay.
years. You know, it took some, you know, finding out where they're going.
Yes.
And I was on the original ad hoc committee about 5 or 6 years ago on council, which was looking at the feasibility of having a crime prevention council.
Okay.
And we brought in people from Waterloo and Regina, experts, and
Right.
people who had already set something up similarly in those cities.
Okay.
So they gave us a really good direction on how to, you know, establish the committee and who should be on it and what their mandate should be. And we have taken that to heart, and it's, they're doing a wonderful job. So with them and the police working together,
right.
it's starting
It's
to pay
starting to.
dividends. Yeah.
I noticed we were standing outside and we did talk to some on-foot police officers who happened to walk by, which was
Yep.
really nice. And
Well, we love the honor. Yeah, absolutely. We love those people. And yeah, should we have more? Probably. Ideally, we could have them walking at night,
yeah,
but that requires, you know, like a total reconfiguration of the personnel on police services. And you know what? We may get there. But right now, we've taken step one.
yes,
And I know the neighborhood foot patrols the businesses love them.
well, I know when you have fear because of the influx of murders,
Yeah.
people want things to happen right away, and sometimes they take time,
It does take time,
and working
Yeah.
together.
absolutely. And that's exactly where I really think this Crime Prevention Council is doing a marvelous job.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And how big is your ward? I believe you were saying it's the biggest ward.
Well, by population, yeah, I go from the other side of the university all the way up to Sir John A. Macdonald, the old Sir John A. Macdonald School.
Wow.
And from there, down to McVickers Creek.
Holy
That's my
smokes.
southern boundary. is
Okay.
McVickers Creek. And then all the way up Red River Road to the expressway.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of development in
Oh,
those
yeah,
areas,
it's
and
it's a huge ward. I don't know, geographically, I don't think it's the biggest, but, I mean, McIntyre would be,
Right.
and Meebing would be, but
geographically speaking, but
population, yeah. It's
Wow.
huge, but, you know, I try to do everything I can for the individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm proud of the fact that when somebody phones me or emails me, I respond almost immediately
Yes,
or
you
as
do.
quickly as I
Mhm.
can.
Yeah.
And I pride myself in that. And whatever their issue is, I try to solve
Mm-hmm.
it, again, as best I can, but knowing that some things can't be solved immediately.
right.
You know.
And what made you seek reelection
For that
for that?
kind of thing.
Okay.
I think I'm doing a good job for my constituents
Mm-hmm.
in Red River Ward. I know that I've got some things that I've accomplished over the last, 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to iterate those,
No.
but you know what I mean. And there are a couple more things clearly that I want to ensure
not
that our
finished.
people, that's right, I'm not, I'm not finished. You know, but I want to make sure that we get sort of our fair share of infrastructure. We're doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
We've almost finished all of the roads in Grandview. Now the next step is to continue going east,
Right.
northeast.
Mhm.
That's our, and you know, I'm just there when budget time comes. I make sure I get my oar in the water, and so, and we've developed a couple of parks. One parkette, and they're turning out. And the beauty of that is the local residents have done sort a lot of the work,
Right.
and they've become just little jewels.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
I'll use, for example, the Junot Park,
Okay.
which is beside the fire hall.
Right.
That was a long story, but it's a lovely place to walk now.
Yes.
They planted trees. They have donations where people put on those memorial benches.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's terrific, and we just had the MS Society dedicate a substantial little area
Oh, wow.
in memory of all people who have died from MS and
Mm-hmm.
to keep the fight going on MS. That's all in this brand-new park.
It's a big community effort.
Yes, it is, and, you know, they're putting their dollars where their mouth is.
And if you don't do that within the community, you don't feel a part of the community.
Exactly.
And then that's when you get a lot of
Yeah.
detachment.
Yeah.
So if you get people's hands dirty and working in the community,
Which is what they're doing.
they start
Yeah.
to look after their
Yeah, and
their
I know that
neighbor.
happens in other parts of the city. You know, you get neighborhood
Yep.
groups. I know we have the Picton Windsor group.
Okay.
They're very active. There's a little park at the end of their street, but they work within the community, and they're doing a really, bang-up job. And it's sort of transformed that neighborhood
Yes.
where the people feel safe, safer. They're not afraid to walk at night. It's a marvelous transition. You know, helped not to a small degree with the Boys and Girls Club being there. That's another terrific addition to that whole area.
There's a lot of positive things going on within the city that we
Yeah.
really need to take a notice of.
That's exactly. You know, I mean, I'm not being a Pollyanna, but I am just going to push the positive. And if people need something, aired, or they want to speak about something that may be negative, I'll absolutely address that and say, well, okay, but we got to look at the future for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
We got to look. I'll look at myself. We'll talk about the event center, but talk about all the other things that when I was younger
Right.
that were built. And I look at the Fort William Gardens, the Port Arthur Stadium, all the satellite arenas, all of the other parks and baseball diamonds. Those were all relatively new at the time.
Yes.
And it could be 10, 15 years old, doesn't matter. But I enjoyed those as a kid growing up. And even my kids have a little bit of that residual enjoyment. So I'm working, quite honestly, for the next generation.
Projecting forward is always good.
Absolutely. You've got to say, well, okay, can we afford all of these things we're doing? Well, bluntly, yes, we can. because we've turned a corner. And I'm biased, obviously, because, I've been on council 2 terms. But, our credit rating has never been this high. It's never been this good. Our ratio to debt,
Right, I
debt
follow
to,
you.
is obviously solid because Standard & Poor's gave us a terrific rating. I don't want to get into all that stuff.
I understand.
But you know what I'm saying.
I follow you.
So, and we've kept the taxes down, last year 1.67. I mean, and 1.5 of that was for infrastructure,
Okay.
designated for infrastructure. We spent, by the end of the year, we will have spent $40 million on infrastructure. Way more than ever before. And we're going to do that next year. And, we've increased assessment and what I mean by that is we didn't reassess people's houses. That's MPAC's job.
Well, yeah.
Because that's a sore spot with all of us. But anyway, just new builds, and we've got 3 new hotels.
Right.
Those people do their homework.
Well, yeah, they just
Yeah,
don't pop up there
That's
for no
right.
reason.
They know what's happening, and they know that there are people moving into the city. There are projections, we're at 115 or 120,000 people, give or take. Some of them, many of them are not on the census.
Right.
So, okay, but somebody knows that. And so.
Well,
they're-
yeah, there's in the area by Intercity, the
Oh, yeah.
growth there is,
Just
you see growth.
Just amazing,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to touch on today? I know you were up late last night, and you're going to be up late again tonight, I gather.
Yeah.
There's another,
Well, I'm just going to go and watch because this
You're
is
gonna
for
go
the
and
mayor
watch,
and the
right.
at-large, but I certainly will go. Because, I want to hear what the public's issues
Yes.
are. And I hear it at the doors. So far, nobody's thrown a tomato at me or anything at the door. And
tomatoes are too good.
It's been pretty good. I'm going to give it as hard as I can. I've got a little bit more to go in this, and
Works for me.
perfect.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being on set with us today, where it's
No.
Brian and Kelly.